April 26, 1986. In the heart of the Soviet Union stood Pripyat, a modern city built for the future. Nearly 50,000 people lived here, raising families, going to school, and dreaming of tomorrow. The streets were full of life, the parks filled with laughter. But beneath this peaceful morning, an invisible catastrophe had already begun, one that would change history forever. Just outside Pripyat stood the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant, one of the Soviet Union's most powerful engineering achievements. Thousands of workers passed through its gates each day, keeping the reactors running and supplying energy to millions. Behind the walls of this industrial giant, immense machines operated with relentless precision. But deep inside reactor number 4, a chain of events was already moving quietly toward disaster. As night fell over Chernobyl, the control room stayed calm. A routine test was underway. Then a small, irregular reading appeared on the monitors. The first quiet hint of a disaster no one yet understood. In the early hours of April 26th, engineers gathered to conduct a routine safety experiment. The test seemed simple, designed to measure how the reactor would respond during a power loss. As preparations began, operators carefully adjusted critical systems. But as the procedure moved forward, uncertainty started to spread through the control room. Deep beneath the reactor's steel shell, conditions were quietly becoming far more dangerous than anyone realized. Within minutes, the reactor turned unstable. Readings spiked beyond limits, warnings flashed across the panels, and confusion spread in the control room. Alarms sounded as control began to slip away at reactor number 4. Inside reactor 4, the system pushed beyond its limits. Energy levels surged uncontrollably as the core slipped into instability. In the control room, engineers scrambled, hitting emergency switches, shouting over rising alarms. Screens turned red as multiple systems failed at once. Within moments, the situation collapsed into chaos. Readings spiked, warnings blared, and the reactor entered its final critical state, beyond anyone's control. Suddenly, alarms erupted across the control room. Operators rushed to initiate an emergency shutdown, but critical systems were already failing. Control was slipping away. Then, at 1:23 a.m., disaster struck. A massive explosion tore through reactor number 4, unleashing fire, debris, and radioactive material into the night sky. Chernobyl had changed forever. As radiation drifted silently across Pripyat, life continued as normal. Beneath the calm night sky, an invisible threat was already spreading through the city. As emergency sirens echoed through the night, firefighters rushed toward the burning reactor. Unaware of the deadly radiation surrounding them, they were heading directly into one of history's most dangerous disasters. As fire crews raced toward Chernobyl, they believed they were responding to an ordinary industrial fire. Arriving beneath the burning reactor, they battled flames and scattered debris without knowing the true danger around them. Invisible radiation filled the air. Within hours, many firefighters began experiencing the first symptoms of severe exposure, becoming the disaster's earliest heroes and victims.
Hold on, we've got you. Triage 2 now.
As the first victims arrived at local hospitals, doctors struggled to understand what they were seeing. Severe burns appeared without fire, and symptoms worsened by the hour. Medical staff searched desperately for answers. Only then did a terrifying reality begin to emerge. These patients were suffering from acute radiation exposure. As the crisis deepened, Soviet officials chose secrecy over transparency. Behind closed doors, information was restricted, and the true scale of the disaster remained hidden. Across the city, An unusual orange glow spreads across the night sky, reflecting eerily off buildings in a silent, uneasy calm. People step outside, pointing upward in confusion, unsure of what they are witnessing.
What is that?
Above them, a slow, unseen wave drifts through the air, deepening the tension without a sound. An invisible radiation cloud spreads silently across the landscape, moving over forests and empty roads like a hidden threat no one can see. In nature, something feels wrong. Birds shift direction, mid-flight. Wildlife behaving as if the environment itself has changed. Slowly, the streets grow quieter, and one by one, people retreat indoors as the city fades into an uneasy silence. In high-security labs, scientists study the radiation readings in silence until disbelief turns to shock as the numbers climb beyond safe limits. Across control rooms, the situation escalates instantly. Red alerts flash, monitors confirm the worst, and the truth becomes undeniable. Emergency systems activate as alarms echo through the facility, and urgent communications erupt into chaos, signaling a crisis unfolding in real time. City loudspeakers break the silence, ordering an immediate evacuation. People stop in their tracks, exchanging confused glances as the message repeats across the streets. Fear spreads quickly through the crowd. Voices rise, movement becomes frantic. Then, military vehicles begin to enter the city, taking control of the situation as a coordinated evacuation starts unfolding. Hundreds of buses flood the streets of Pripyat, turning order into controlled chaos from above. Families rush to board, carrying only what they can, leaving personal belongings behind in silence. Soldiers guide the crowds through fading daylight as the city slowly empties under a dramatic sunset, never to be the same again. Inside the apartments of Pripyat, families rush to pack what little they can, faces tense, children standing confused as the reality slowly sinks in. In room after room, furniture, toys, and personal belongings are left behind, as silence begins to replace daily life. At the doorways, residents pause for a final look at their homes, standing in emotional stillness as sunset light fills the empty rooms, and the city begins to fade behind them. Mass evacuation convoys roll out of Pripyat, buses and military vehicles forming a long, silent line as they leave the city behind. Inside, families sit in quiet disbelief, some crying softly, children staring out in confusion as everything familiar disappears. Through the windows, Pripyat slowly fades into the distance, its empty skyline bathed in a fading sunset, marking the end of life as they knew it. Pripyat streets now stand completely abandoned, cars frozen in place, silence stretching across the entire city as the camera slowly descends from above. Nature begins to reclaim what was left behind, as grass pushes through cracked concrete and wind moves through hollow, empty buildings. With broken windows and drifting fog filling the streets, the city feels suspended in time, a haunting reminder of human absence. The abandoned amusement park stands frozen in time, its Ferris wheel silent against a heavy, clouded sky. Rusted rides and broken structures fill the frame, paint peeling away as nature slowly begins to reclaim the metal beneath. A cold wind moves through the empty grounds, pushing broken objects into faint motion, creating an eerie silence that lingers across the forgotten park. Inside the briefing room, workers in heavy radiation suits prepare their equipment, fully aware of the danger ahead as the mission is outlined in silence. Outside, liquidators move toward the reactor zone, their protective gear heavy as smoke rises in the distance, each step taken with measured resolve. Deep inside the contaminated area, cleanup operations begin among hazardous debris, where every movement is slow, controlled, and dangerously precise. Above the destroyed reactor core, helicopters cut through thick smoke, circling over a landscape still burning with unseen danger. One by one, they release sand and materials into the open reactor zone, sending massive clouds of dust rising into the air. Beneath them, heat distortion shimmers through the toxic atmosphere as the scene below becomes a surreal mix of fire, smoke, and invisible radiation. Inside the extreme danger zone, liquidators push forward despite visible exhaustion, their movements slow under the weight of radiation and stress. Fatigue and sickness begin to show as the reality of the mission takes its toll, turning every step into a struggle for endurance. Yet even in those conditions, the work continues, driven by duty and sacrifice as they keep moving through a mission that offers no safety, only responsibility. Across the devastated site, massive concrete structures begin to rise as cranes lift enormous blocks into place, forming a new shield around the reactor. Teams of workers coordinate the immense operation, surrounded by heavy machinery, as every movement is carefully controlled. Slowly, the reactor is sealed beneath layers of containment, while smoke still escapes into the air, fading into a wide, silent reminder of what lies buried beneath. Today, Pripyat stands abandoned, its streets slowly disappearing beneath layers of wild vegetation as nature reclaims the city. Inside the empty classrooms, broken desks sit under beams of sunlight cutting through shattered windows, as silence replaces what once was life and learning. Scattered toys and books remain frozen in time, telling the story of a city that was suddenly left behind, never to return. A rusted warning sign reading "Radiation Area" stands alone in an abandoned landscape, its warning still visible after all these years. As the sun sets over Pripyat, an orange glow spreads across the ruins, turning the empty city into a quiet silhouette of the past. Slowly, the camera pulls away, revealing the full scale of abandonment as the city fades into the horizon. Silent,